This is Paul LaRue, a gifted programmer, businessman who built an illegal business empire, criminal cartel boss, a suspected murderer, international fugitive, possibly a Bitcoin creator, had a private army, and as a side hustle he was selling missile guidance systems to Iran. Paul lived a wild existence, to put it nicely. His business empire was discovered by accident. Until 2007, the US Drug Enforcement Administration didn't even know that a huge organization was operating on its territory and didn't know anything about a male named Paul LaRue. It all started with a small test purchase from a reputable online pharmacy. No one could imagine what it would lead to. An ordinary investigation uncovered an international arms and drug trafficking network that involved more than 1,000 people. Authorities followed him all around the world for 5 years but couldn't arrest him, until the king of the darknet left his shelter and captured where he did not expect. Paul LaRue is currently serving a 20-year sentence in an American prison. This is twice as long as his criminal career lasted. He expected a life sentence, but he fully cooperated with the investigation and uncovered his entire underground empire to the police. An Emily's baby was born in 1972 in Zimbabwe. At that time, this African country had a different name, Rhodesia, and it was a former English colony where a white minority was in power. And this baby indeed did not have a name. His mother left him at the hospital, but he was lucky. 2 months later he found a foster family in a small mining town. So our hero was given the name Paul LaRue. His parents never told him about his adoption. LaRue finds out about it accidentally just before starting a criminal business. Perhaps this fact played an important role here. LaRue was lucky with his new family. His father was making a lot of money and his parents loved him. But soon, the childhood came to an end. In 1980, Rhodesia became Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe, who was a black racist, came to power. So LaRue's parents, like many other white residents, decided to leave the country and move to South Africa. So he grows up in a wealthy family. His father started a small coal mining company so they could afford basically anything. And soon, LaRue got its first computer, and this was in the 80s, when computers were not so popular. He liked his new toy. Paul LaRue was an introverted guy. He did not have friends, didn't talk to anyone, and did not like sports. But a notion of virtual reality with the ability to be anyone you want was very attractive for him. LaRue's first encounter with the police happened when he was 15. He was accused of distributing adult movies, and it was in 80s in South Africa where it was taboo. He could face a real prison sentence, but his wealthy father helped him to avoid it. Maybe it was this time when LaRue realized that money can solve any problem. LaRue dropped out of school and took programming courses and quickly became very good at it. One of his relatives stated that LaRue completed a 1-year-long course in just 2 months and decided to leave South Africa. The reason why he wanted to leave the country was the vacation that he had with his family in the United States. LaRue saw for the first time how people live in a first world country and realized that South Africa is a dead end. He wanted to move somewhere closer to civilization. Therefore, immediately after he returned to Africa, LaRue told his parents that he's going to leave. He packed his stuff and bought a ticket to London. He found a job as a programmer, then met his future wife and moved to Australia. That's actually all the information about his life before the internet. It seems that LaRue was a sociopath and didn't like people. It can be observed considering his activity on the internet. Every person has a digital footprint, even you, and there is one for LaRue. He actively participated in various forums for programmers, but he also liked trolling other users. It was at the time when the internet was the most toxic place on earth. He even threatened to kill other users. Many years later, he stated that he was writing nasty things on the internet only for entertainment. The more aggressive the response he received, the more he liked it. But still, under his online statements, one could discover his view that led him to the other side of the law. Firstly, LaRue was writing that drugs should be legalized. Secondly, he stated that the digital age was taking people's freedom. Banks and governments can track his every move. Later, he will try to fix these issues himself. In 1998, LaRue developed E4M, an encryption software for hard drives. He wrote the code alone, and this software is still a huge problem for hackers. LaRue did not try to monetize the software and published it online for free. In addition to the software, he published a manifesto where he opposed E4M to a government project to collect data about citizens called the Echelon. It was indeed high-quality software. According to Snowden, the Americans could not hack the encrypted disk by this software even 15 years after its creation. But it didn't make him any money. At that time, Leroux had a small IT company, but it always was on the edge of bankruptcy and clearly didn't match his financial goals. In 1999, Leroux divorced and moved to Netherlands, where he married for the second time. In Netherlands, he tried to make money out of E4M and created an outsourced company. One of the main services he provided was a remote encryption setup for clients. 1 year later, one of his clients, Wilfried Hafner, invited Leroux to work for a startup. He wanted to create a commercial version of Leroux's software and offered him to be a chief of technology. When Leroux arrived at the interview with Hafner, he saw Hafner's mansion on the south of France, but their partnership didn't last long. In 2002, Leroux was fired because Hafner found that he was creating identical software on the side. After this humiliation, Leroux decided that he will never work for somebody and stop developing innovative software. From now on, his main goal will be to make lots of money by any means. His first idea to make easy money was to create an online casino. That seemed to be easy because the casino always wins. To develop it, Leroux even mastered a new programming language in a very short time. But this idea failed. He created the website, but he did not know how to attract new users and make people use it. Leroux again was looking for a job on the internet forums. Exactly at this time, he discovered that he was adopted, and it was another event that changed his life. An angry, deceived and humiliated introvert decided never to lose again. Firstly, he completed the project that he was working on in a Hafner's company. In 2004, he launched the first version of TrueCrypt. It was free software and positioned as the most reliable way of data encryption. The software had serious funding, which came from an unknown source. And now you'll find out what was this mysterious source. Around this time, Leroux disappears from the internet forums forever, because his secret business has already started working. A year ago, Leroux was looking on the internet for someone with an American passport. He needed a dummy director for his new company. His new company was called RX Limited. Leroux launched several websites and call centers for the online sale of prescription drugs. To place orders on these websites, customers would fill out questionnaires about their medical history and symptoms, order their chosen medication and pay by the credit card. The questionnaires would be sent to doctors in the United States who would write prescriptions for the drugs ordered, despite never checking the patient in person. The prescription, along with the customer's order, would go to a pharmacy in the United States, which would then ship the drug. Both the doctor and the pharmacy would receive a commission for the order. Many employees and pharmacists had the impression that it was acting legally. Each order came with a prescription, and the system would keep track of customers' orders and block unusually large orders arriving within a short period of time. One time, a pharmacist was given the contact details of the former Drug Enforcement Administration agent, who confirmed there would be no legal issues in shipping any of the medications offered by RX Limited. Leroux advertised this service through spam email. These messages would quickly get blocked by spam filters. He would open new websites. Initially, the new domains were purchased individually from domain seller, until RX Limited set up its own domain seller, AB Systems, allowing to create new domains on a much larger scale. This business generated insane profits. The US Internal Revenue Service calculated that RX Limited owned more than $1.5 million in tax from 2005 alone. The debt is still outstanding. RX Limited was having tens of thousands of orders each week and $5 million in profits. Leroux obviously didn't care how many people will suffer from it. He finally found a way to make money. A lot of money. Soon he realized that police will have questions for him. Therefore, in 2017, he left the Netherlands and moved with his family to the Philippines. Well, doesn't look like the most obvious option for a luxury lifestyle, but he moved to one of the most prestigious areas in a luxurious house with a swimming pool. Plus, in the Philippines, he felt himself in a familiar environment. The Philippines has specific freedom. Here, unlike in Europe, money really can solve any problem. Leroux stated that for $100, you can even find a hitman here. Finally, he achieved what he wanted, wealth, but it turns out that he wants something more than money. Now he wants power, not as a politician, but as a king of its own secret empire. He becomes greedy and suspicious. He perceived himself as a criminal of the new age who relies on possibilities of new technologies. Just in a single year, Leroux transformed from a broke programmer to a millionaire and realized that everything is possible. But in reality, started going crazy and cosplayed the lifestyle of villains from James Bond movies. In his office, he stacked cash all the way to the ceiling, and his mini-state already had over 1,000 people. Leroux even started recruiting former soldiers in its own army. One time he discovered that 2 call center managers are planning to open their own pharmacy in the United States to sell his products. So what would you do? You would ask them for a meeting and try to learn what they're up to. But this guy is crazy. He asks one manager for a meeting on his yacht and throws him in the sea. His security started shooting at him before the guy managed to explain that he was misunderstood and his plan would actually benefit Leroux more. Eventually, they pulled him out of the sea and threatened to kill him if he decides to leave the company. Leroux always was thinking that people wants to cheat him. In 2008, he ordered to burn down the house of his cousin after a dispute over money. Even when he sent his people to negotiate, he asked another surveillance group to follow them. Soon he discovered a new opportunity. When he was hiring soldiers, he started looking where to buy weapons. Leroux hired a former Israeli lobbyist who was selling Israeli weapons to those countries which could not officially buy them, and this turned out to be one of the most valuable contacts. He soon realized that he could start selling weapons to those who would be willing to pay more. Militias in Somalia have become his regular customers. Another customer Leroux found was Iran. He sold to Iran missile guidance systems. He even had storage with gold, silver and diamonds. The richer he becomes, the more cruel things he did. The only punishment he was using was death. His head of security was Dave Smith. He had done security work in Iraq and then for a risk management company in the Philippines. In 2011, Leroux began suspecting Smith of stealing. Smith was kidnapped outside a bar while drunk and placed in a shallow grave. Then he was shot and buried. US authorities began investigations against Arax Limited in September 2007. Officers from Drug Enforcement Administration made a test purchase from one of the Arax Limited websites. And all of a sudden they discovered a huge network of distributing medications using fake prescriptions. They couldn't understand who is behind this business until they found Leroux's phone number in one of the documents. They started recording his phone calls and discovered that the business of fake prescriptions is the least disturbing one among other businesses Leroux conducts. Arms trafficking, assassinations and prohibited medications from North Korea. It was calculated that Arax Limited made over $500 billion. Leroux started covering his tracks back in 2008. He had several fake passports and never used his real name. In 2011, Leroux's business suffered. The United States has tightened control over a medication that contributed to Arax Limited a third of its income. So Leroux closed the call center in Israel and began smuggling drugs out of Mexico. Seeing that his chances of being detained are getting higher, he decided to move to Brazil because it doesn't have an extradition agreement with the United States. One of his associates let the agents know that Leroux plans to make a deal with Colombian cartels. To do so, Leroux would need to meet the cartel representative in Liberia to finalize the deal, but Leroux did not know that Colombian cartel representatives were American agents and the operation was an attempt to apprehend him. As he couldn't be extradited under Brazilian law, being the father of a Brazilian child, the law enforcement had chosen to lure him into Liberia, which would allow them to bring him to the United States without an extradition proceeding. Leroux flew to Liberia in September to meet the representative of the Colombian cartel. The day after his arrival, he was arrested by Liberian police. He tried to offer a bribe, but the officers rejected it and handed him over to law enforcement agents who took him to the United States. Leroux always demanded from his employees loyalty. He told them that if you are arrested, you should keep silence and I'm gonna reward you, otherwise you'll be killed. But once he got captured, he realized he doesn't want to stay the rest of his life in prison. During the flight back to the United States, Leroux agreed to cooperate with the authorities. Upon arrival, he was assigned an attorney and placed in a secret custody in New York City. For the next 2 years, Leroux simulated that he is still on freedom and continued to run his empire. He managed deals just to let the police arrest his partners. Officially, Leroux's arrest was announced only in 2014, when all his empire was uncovered. Leroux admitted that he was involved in drug trafficking, arms trafficking, assassinations and so on. As a result, he was sentenced to only 25 years in prison, while the owner of Silk Road Marketplace in 2015 got double life imprisonment plus 40 years without possibility of parole. Leroux wanted a decent life, but ended up losing his freedom. He was a millionaire for several years and now he will spend the next 25 years in prison. There are also opinions that Leroux could be Satoshi Nakamoto, the inventor of Bitcoin.
What I really think, and what I wrote an article on Wired Magazine about it, is that of the people, all these people have been floated, as possible Satoshi. And if you look at Paul Leroux, I feel like Paul Leroux is the strongest candidate.
His former employee suggested that Leroux had been the inventor of Bitcoin. The arrest of Leroux and the last post by Satoshi Nakamoto to the original Bitcoin repository occurred around the same time. Leroux started his career as a freedom defender, but it turns out that all he cared about was to cover his tracks of illegal business. So the next time someone glorifies the anonymity, remember that anonymity can be used not only to hide your browser history, but also to hide crimes. If you are new here, all I ask is that you subscribe, because we make video essays and short documentaries just like this one every single week on the most exciting stuff in the world of business, money and power. And of course, like the video and leave your comment, because I do read and reply to every single comment, including yours. See you in the next one.